Hi, I'm Christelle Tomlinson and welcome back to my YouTube page and another video focused on improving your skills as a public speaker. In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you the 4 traits of persons likely to fail at public speaking. If you are engaged in any of these 4 habits or practices as a public speaker, it's an almost sure shot that you're not doing well in your speaking practice and you are feeling more and more anxious and less capable every time you deliver a presentation. So stay with me. I'll share the 4 traits, but I'll also share a strategy that can help you interrupt the practice or overcome that particular challenge. If you struggle with public speaking and you feel very, very afraid to be in front of an audience, you're joining about 73% of the population. That's how many people are afraid of public speaking, or glossophobia as we call it. That's more people afraid of public speaking than there are those who are scared of death, heights, and spiders. It's a real fear. If you're able to identify the speaking traits that you have that line you up to not do well as a public speaker, it helps you to take preventative action so you don't flop on stage in that public meeting. And by getting better each time you deliver, you increase your courage and reduce the fear you have of public speaking. So grab your notepad and let's take some notes. Ready? Let's go. Now, the first trait is long-windedness. Someone who really doesn't know how to stop talking. And once they begin to speak, the words just tumble out. Sometimes they are coherent, logical, but many times they are disorganized, they sound frantic. You can hear the nerves in their breathing. They look anxious, but they just can't seem to stop themselves from talking. Now, that usually happens for one of 2 reasons. One, their fear mechanism is triggered. We talk about that fight or flight instinct that we have. When we feel very afraid in a moment and the instinct is to flee, the nerves begin to show up. So the voice gets shaky, the palms get sweaty, the breathing gets very labored, and the person starts to get fidgety, not sure what to do with all of that nervous energy. And the body, trying to regulate those responses, you take away a lot of attention from the brain, what you actually should be saying and passing through your mouth as you're communicating, and start worrying about the fidgeting. How can I stop the sweatiness? Is somebody seeing me? And the mouth just keeps moving while you're trying to think about the other things that are going on physiologically. But the other reason could be that the speaker started to speak without an end in mind. They didn't know what they wanted their audience to walk away understanding, and so they're not clear when they have made their point. They keep repeating the same thing, asking if the other person or the group of persons has understood, looking for more examples, and just continue ad nauseum. If you don't begin with an end in mind, and that is the tip to help you overcoming this particular trait, if you learn to begin your presentations with an end in mind, you know when to stop. You know what the point is that you're trying to make, the 2 or 3 examples that you're going to give to enunciate that point, and the final takeaway that you want your listener to have. Once you have said those things, you know you have said them, and you are more likely to stop speaking when you're finished sharing valuable information. Is that something that you struggle with? You may call it rambling or going off on a tangent. Apply that tip of knowing what you want your audience to walk away with, knowing your end before you begin, and that can help to prompt you when you've gotten to your actual logical full stop. Yeah? The second trait of persons who don't do well in public speaking is the monotone. Someone who speaks in one flat tone all the time. Now, that's inviting your audience to ignore you. That's inviting them to zone out on you, to get distracted, to pick up their phones, to walk out the room, to tell the person who's on the way, don't bother coming because I'll take notes. You don't need to waste your time here. You could be delivering valuable information, but your tone is so monotonous, flat, without any kind of personality. And your listener needs to hear that. You must punctuate what you're saying with emotion, with inflection. In public speaking, we call that prosody. So learning how to use your voice to tell a story. Now, if you think about writing a letter to somebody, and there are people who will tell you, I'm a better writer than I am a speaker. When you write, you have the benefit of certain tools from the computer or the tablet or your phone. You're also able to change the color of the text inside a document, so that also lets them know that this is important, pay attention. But at the basic level, you're adding punctuations, your comma is there, your full stop is there, your exclamation sign is there, your question mark is there, the capital letter to start a new sentence, the indentation to do a new paragraph. All of those things help to tell your reader how to punctuate when they are reading, and you're able to add different kinds of emphasis and emotion to your writing. When you're speaking, you don't have the benefit of Control B. You don't have the benefit of caps lock. So you have to use your voice to do that punctuation and to add the emotion and the emphasis as is necessary. So if you struggle with a monotone, I want you to remember that your voice is a speaking tool, and you must use your voice to create the emphasis and the enunciation that you would on a piece of paper. So practice to sound quizzical at the end of a sentence if you're asking somebody a question. Use your tone. Go very high when it's something to be excited about, but also come very low when you want them to slow down and think a thought through. And also to cut out whatever distraction may be happening, as your normal speaking tone is also a tone that people can zone out of. So by slowing down, you bring your listener back to the conversation. Use your voice as a tool for storytelling, and use it to enunciate, punctuate, and add emphasis as you're talking. Otherwise, you're going to fail at public speaking, because nobody is trying to listen to a dial tone for 10, 15, or 20 minutes. The third trait of somebody who tends to fail at public speaking, especially in interactive situations like a question and answer or an interview, or just a casual conversation with a friend, a partner, a co-worker, your children, is the need to say, I don't know. When you really don't have a detailed response to give, constantly saying, I don't know. Opening your points with, I don't know, but you're doing two things. When you open with, I don't know, you disengage your listener from trusting what you have to say. Because if you don't know, then you're not speaking to me with any sense of authority, clarity, and probably not sharing a fact with me. So my brain tells me I probably can't learn from what you're saying. What you're about to tell me, it doesn't make sense. I retain that in my short-term or long-term memory because I can't use it. I'm going to have to do some additional work to get sure about the thing you're saying you don't know about. So by opening up your sentences, if you're making a contribution, giving a comment, and opening up with, boy, I don't know, well, I don't know, I'm not so sure, you're disengaging the listener before you even share that idea. And many times we do know. You're trying to share a feeling, you're not sure how people will feel about it. There's a fact that's not so popular, but it's a fact, and you're trying not to offend people, and you begin by saying something you think is disarming, and it's really just disengaging. I don't know, but I think no. The other way that we're using the I don't know is to answer a question. Somebody asks you for your opinion, somebody asks you for some information to make a decision, and you say, well, I don't know. You're in an interview, they ask a hard question, they throw you a hard ball. What's your response? Boy, I don't know. You're in a position of leadership, you're in a meeting called to report, somebody asks you for an update, I don't know. Now, the problem is not in the not knowing. It's not engaging your listener who's trying to get information on what they could do to get that info. So you can say, this is not my field of expertise. I don't have that information right now, but if you give me a week or so, I can do some more reading and fact checking to clarify that for you. Or you could say, this is not my area of reporting, but I'm sure that Stacey and Robert, Kimberly could give a better update on this. Robert, Stacey, and Kimberly, point them in the direction of where they could get that information, especially if you're in a position of leadership and authority. You can't be I don't knowing your way through important and high value interactions and conversations. So again, the problem or the fault or the flaw is not in not knowing, but sitting only in the I don't know when the person speaking to you or listening to you is trying to get more information. Your job as the speaker, even if you don't have the information, is to point them in the direction where they could find it, or ask them to give you a little more time to get apprised on the subject, and you will come back with an update. And if it's not something that they will come back to you with an update on, acknowledge it as a learning moment. Don't be ashamed to not know. I've never heard of that. This is the first time I'm encountering this piece of information. I didn't know that before. I'll definitely do some more reading so I can build my knowledge in this space. You can't just stop at, I don't know. And the fourth trait for somebody who's likely to be experiencing some epic failures in public speaking are those who start their presentations with a corny joke. Now, I left this one for last because I didn't want you to think I was unserious about the assessment of what leads to poor public speaking. But this might sound trivial, small, frivolous, but it's very, very important. And you know why it is important? Because you're opening your presentation with something that makes you uncomfortable and feel stiff because the audience is not responding as though you did something good. And it also puts your audience in that position of feeling awkward and stiff. If you're not a comedian and you haven't tested that joke and you're not absolutely sure that it's funny when you tell it, because you could have heard it from somebody else, it was funny to you when they said it and you think you can pass it on. If you are not sure, don't use it. Take some time to test. Practice and rehearsal is very important in executing well as a public speaker. And if you're starting with a joke, especially if it's an impromptu speaking situation and you didn't have time to plan and arrange what you're going to say, a joke might not be the best way to open if you're not naturally comedic. If you don't have good comedic timing, if it's not a space that's appropriate for laughing and joke telling, you could be reading the room wrong. Now, if you've done it before and it hasn't worked for you, ding, 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 this is a clue that you're the person I'm talking to. Now, it doesn't mean you can't open in a way that is stunning and captivating, but perhaps a joke is not your way through the door to open the ear and mind of your listener. Start with something different, like a captivating statistic, which I did in the first part of this video, sharing how many people were afraid of public speaking and the fact that public speaking is a higher fear than death, heights, or spiders. So it's something to think about when I shared it in the opening, an aha moment for those of us who did not know, and an important bit of context for those who are afraid of public speaking, feel that they are an anomaly, to recognize that they're actually not alone. So it creates community and steadiness in the listener at the top of the video. Practice using interesting statistics, facts, personal stories, and analogies to open up your presentations instead of going for that joke that might be insensitive, that joke that you don't have the comedic timing to deliver, that joke that is not appropriate because this is a space that's dealing with a hard issue and we don't want to diffuse by using a joke when we want truth, we want accountability. So assess which of those 4 traits you may be practicing and how you can amend your approach with one of the tips or tools that I shared in our discussion to improve your likelihood of success in public speaking. Remember, I always say this and I will say it again, public speaking is not a talent, it's a skill. And like all skills, I can learn and improve. So if you're not naturally talented at public speaking, great job. Great job recognizing that you have room to grow. It's a skill, it's something you can practice. Apply those tips in your next presentation or preparation to speak and let me know how it works for you. If this video was helpful, please give me a like, a thumbs up, subscribe to our page, drop a comment below and let me know, and be sure to share it with somebody who you know will benefit. Until we connect again, continue to use your voice and speak with courage.